Hello, hello, good morning. Hello. Just me this morning, I think. Nothing on the table. Nice into 15. Oh, and very late.
Seine Eltern mal grüßen, ja. Hallo Mama und Papa.
E 15 minuti alla partenza della gara.
Jetzt müssen wir mehr arbeiten. Ja gut, aber... Ja, aber das ist so ein bisschen...
Down, dritto, inizio prima curva della bici, seconda, terza curva della bici, down, bel vedere, devi la guardia, down, di curva 2. Alla partenza della gara. Tutti i third runner di curva Ampezzo.
Ciao, buongiorno, good morning. Welcome to beautiful Cortina d'Ampezzo in the Italian Dolomites. The final day of sliding in the first World Cup on this track in nearly 2 decades. It closed at the end of the 2000, 2007 and 8 season and is now back open in a whole new lease of life. Well, good morning, everybody. Martin Haven here with the IBSF TV crew in beautiful Cortina at the Pista Olimpica Eugenio Monti, ready for the women's bobsleigh competition to get underway. From the start, it is a short run down into the first corner, and coming out of the grooves, you've got to make sure you get clean through the bottleneck into Stries and then Verzi. Tap on the right is going to take your speed away into Cento and then into Primo Labyrinti. So the first of 3 corners in this upper labyrinth. Secondi, Treti, a little shoot down into Belvedere and Bandion, one of the legendary combinations of the old track. Then out of Lino K2, Rettifilo Antelau, the straight down to Antelau, here we are, and Cristallo, the other big S corners of the previous track. And out of Cristallo through the chicane, dropping down into Tofana, named after the mountain range opposite Ampezzo, the basin in which Cortina sits, and then Arrivo, the final corner. Last 3 going uphill and pretty steeply uphill as well to the finish line. 16 corners, at least 16 opportunities to lose speed. This is a fast, flowing and technical track where if you make mistakes by corner 4, your race could well be over. It was a bitter night last night, the air temperature hovering around -5 and the air track temperature around -6. So the ice is going to be very hard and fast. And over the last 2 weeks, the athletes have been here. The weather has changed a lot. Started out mild at the beginning of the training week, rained for about half of it, so it's fairly humid. And this week has got colder and colder, and the ice has got harder and faster. So there'll be different conditions from when they raced in the Monobob yesterday, and so they will have to adjust to that very quickly. With the mask on, Kim Kalicki and her brakewoman Leonie Fiebig on the left. Kalicki struggling with pneumonia at the moment. Can't imagine what it feels like trying to compete with a lung infection, but she is doing her level best. So here's our start list. We have 26 sleds in the field. The fastest 20 will go through into Heat 2. And we start with 2 debutantes, Inola Blatti and Maya Voigt, who make their World Cup debut. And towards the end of the field, we have 2 more as well, making their women's bobsleigh debut, Patricia Takniarova of the Czech Republic and Simi Adiagbo of Nigeria, the first African women's bobsleigh team in World Cup history. So who goes through? Well, we're going to find out fast, aren't we? The opening race of the pre-Olympic season for women's bobsleigh in Cortina d'Ampezzo, the Pista Olimpica Eugenio Monti. And starting us off, rookies Inola Blatti and Salome Cora. 27-year-old driver raced yesterday in the Monobob to 18th place. Her brakewoman 31, 100 and 4x100 sprinter, has not raced officially until this moment. First sled on ice, they have the new start record, 5:24. And pretty tidy up to the first labyrinth corner. Little skid and a tap. You'll see a lot of that. And even the most experienced drivers are going to need those first 2, 3, 4 corners to really get a handle on what the ice is like today. Now, as the ice and the track have hardened and sped up over the last couple of days of training, it seems that a lot of athletes are going with narrower runners than they might otherwise use on a track they really know well. The narrower the runner, the more it digs into the ice, the more control you have, but the more friction there is, so effectively it's slower. 57.78, and that is the first track record on this new look Cortina track, built on the footprint of and largely over the top of the old track, which was the 1956 Winter Olympic venue. Nice looking run from Enola Blatti. Out of Primo Labyrinthi, little tap. Came kind of square down to Secondi. And then this is the over the brow drop down into Tofana. Really hard to keep straight there, but she looks happy with that run, and so she should. So welcome to the World Cup, Enola Blatti and Salome Cora.
Hi!
Hi, indeed. They are full of fun. Now for Denmark. This is Maja Voigt with Sophia Bonde behind her. Sophia, a pole vaulter, just 18 years old, has done one bobsleigh race, the Junior World Champs in Altenburg last year. Maja, making her World Cup debut in a women's bob, has done 7 Europe Cup races and the Junior Worlds last year. Started in skeleton, 5:44. So the Danes are underway. And as you can see from the colours of the sled, don't be gentle, it's a rental. Oh, and a little touch of the woodwork up in Primo Labyrinthi. Coming nice and straight again now. This is all about learning. It's all about building experience in the hope of coming here in February for the Winter Games. And so trying to give the driver control, I think, is as important as speed. Great run down from Cristallo into Tofano. Shot the chicane beautifully. It's a nice looking run. And across the line, 58.51. Now that is possibly not going to be enough to get her through into the second heat. But Denmark in the Women's World Cup. And I'm not 100% certain, but I don't think in my quarter of a century of covering it, we've had a Danish women's crew. Well, this is the view into the first labyrinth. Just gets that back bang bunk tap. If you hit it hard enough, it knocks the tail down, and the nose is still up there. Yikes. She got away with it. And she's not the first, and she won't be the last up in the woodwork there. There was a lot of that yesterday in monobob and in the two-man. Next up, a more experienced slider in the team of Yang Qing. 31st World Cup start for the driver, and her brakewoman, Wang Yu, 25. This is her 9th World Cup. She's done 2 World Championships as well with Ying Qing. 5:31 getaway. I tell you what, that is showing how quick the Swiss duo were to start the competition, weren't they? 1800s back, and a nice run through the labyrinth. Now that is really going to help keep the speed alive. Those first few corners are absolutely critical for having speed in the sled for the rest of the run. And sometimes it'll take a long time to show just where that speed is lacking. Little tap. Nice and straight through Antelau into Cristallo. 2 and a bit pressures, makes it hard to shoot the chicane, but that's not a bad run into Tofano. 3rd best speed. Drifting away a little bit though from Enola Blatti. The Swiss will still have the lead. They do. 57.94 for China's Ying Qing and Wang Yu. Beautiful. Well, there'll be a lot of coaches who remember the old track from this distance with a degree of nostalgia, I think. But at the time, the old Cortina track was a pretty fearsome place. It was really quite a toughie. If you go and see some video online, you'll understand what I mean. Now, somebody who has driven there before, and one of only 2 people in the field who've competed on the old track and the new, Kaylee Humphreys. Sylvia Hoffman back in harness behind her. Sylvia's already 2 years into her driving career, but back trying to recover her brakewoman pose. 5:25, that's a good start for the duo. Sylvia Hoffman, the brakewoman, Olympic bronze medalist with Alana Myers-Taylor last time out. Kaylee Humphries, of course, a two-time Olympic champion and the Olympic Monobob champion. And in women's bobsleigh, a four-time world champion as well. She competed twice on the old track as a push athlete for Helen Upperton, and then drove her own sled as well in the final World Cup race here. In the lead by 1/10 of a second. This is what knowledge and decades of experience give you. Good looking run from Kaylee Humphries. Really nice stuff. Finished just off the podium in 4th place in the monos yesterday. 57.49, new track record.
All right, coach.
I would assume, although with Kaylee Humphries, you never want to assume too much, that this is probably her final season. And she still can drive a sled. If you could bottle what she knows and hand it on to the new generation, that would be something else. But as a new mum, baby is with her, or toddler is with her here on tour. I think other life forces will come into play. Kaylee Humphries on the left, Sylvia Hoffman on the right are leaders. Now, Melissa Lottholtz of Canada with Skylar Sieben behind her. Melissa's 21st World Cup start as a driver, and Skylar's 6th. Nice run down into the first corner off a 5:29 start. And again, that shows how good the start of Sylvia Hoffman and Kaylee Humphries was. Sylvia will be very pleased, I think, to have knocked out a 25. Let's see what Mel's got for us here. Oh, brought it down low through the first part of the labyrinth. Into the left of Belvedere, Bandion. And then sweeping through Antelau and Cristallo. Through the chicane, little tap sends us sideways down into Tofano. Best speed of all, bringing the lead back. Does she close on Kaylee Humphries from 1600s back at the line, a quarter of a second away, 57.74. 400s ahead of Enola Blatti of Switzerland. Now Mel finished a very strong 4th place yesterday in the mono. Skylar Sieben, her brakewoman, former heptathlete from University of Arizona. Brought it down quite hard early in the labyrinth. Right up in the woodwork there, though. And that might be the first sled we've seen venturing so high up. Thumbs up from Melissa Lottholtz, clearly felt decent. Now, happy birthday, by the way, to Lauren Alter. 26 yesterday, 27 today. I'm sure she's had warmer birthdays. I'm sure she's had colder as well. Our Olympic champion, world champion, and World Cup champion in women's bobsleigh reunited with Deborah Levy again, the 28-year-old in her 20th World Cup start. It's a break 1 and 5:13. What an epic getaway. That is monstrous starting from Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy. Alter, the winner of 5 races in the World Cup last season and the World Championship. She won 3 of them with Deborah and the World Championship gold with Deborah behind her as well. 2400s up. Germany swept the men's podium yesterday. Only twice last season did we not have an all-German podium. Melissa Lottholtz and Keisha Love were the 2 drivers who managed to break that domination of the top 3. But this is a beautiful-looking drive from Lauren Alter. Across the line, 56.98. This is a lot quicker than in training. And to adapt to that instantly shows you the talent of these drivers. Well, a 5:13 start record and a 56:98 track record. That's the way to get a birthday underway for Lara Nolte. Deborah Levy had a couple of injury problems 2 seasons ago, came back really strong last year. Yes. What a run, indeed. Well, talk about throwing down the gauntlet. Next up is Austria's Kathi Beil, her 58th World Cup start. And with her, Nicola Pilzler. Nicola in her 6th World Cup race, former basketball player and Austrian policewoman. It's only Nicola's 7th race start, a 5:22. So they outstarted Kaylee Humphries and Sylvia Hoffman. That's a really good get. Oh, hard into the woodwork, but comes down straight. Now then, what's that going to do to her speed? She was 1400s behind Nolte, 1900s back, 4th best speed. Kathi Beil does drive a sled well. Little tap there, 3rd best speed, out to 2800s back, but there's half a second, 1st to 2nd at the moment. Little tap going down into Tofana, and then uphill now through Ampezzo. Right-handed through Arrivo. Where's the line? There it is. 5800s back, just 700s behind Kaylee Humphries in 2nd place. So 3rd place at the moment for Kathi Beil. Well, that was a good run. She'll be cursing herself for thumping the woodwork here. Big bump, but watch the way it comes down. It comes down kind of hard, digs the ice a little with the front runners, but comes down straight. And a big skid there would absolutely have buried her. Little tap here coming out of K2, but relatively straight down the Rettifilio. There's a lot of thinking going on about this track. There really is. It's a very testing track. Next up, for Switzerland, Deborah Annen with Mara Morel behind her. Mara's 15th World Cup start, Deborah's 5th as a driver. She's done more in monobob. Made a debut in Winterberg in January this year. 5th place finish in Lillehammer, the last World Cup of the season. 5:31 getaway. Nice smooth run so far. I'm sure the drivers, oh, look at that great looking exit. I'm sure the drivers are all relishing having more control in the women's sled because there's weight in the back that there isn't in the monobob. Monobob is basically the same size as the 2-seater sled. You're just sitting a little further back, trying to balance the fact that there's no weight over the rear axle. 7th best speed for Deborah Annen. The lines don't look bad, but that tap going down into Tofana is going to hinder her speed. She'll be ahead of Ying Qing of China. 5th at the line, no, 7th at the line. Behind Ying Qing and behind Inola Blatti as well. So Deborah Annen, 57.98. Well, she is exactly a second off the lead. Mind you, 2nd place is half a second off the lead. So I think we can safely say that Lara Nolte, with her first drive on her birthday, has absolutely crushed what the opposition have produced so far. Again, not a bad-looking drive at all from Deborah Annen. Brother Tim raced in the 2-man race yesterday. He's down for the 4-man crew as well today. Of course, both siblings are from Martin Annen. Now then, Melanie Hasser led the monobob race yesterday after the first heat, slipped down to 7th place with a really disappointing second run. 5:19 with her favourite brake woman behind her, Nadia Pasternak, back from a year off having her little baby, Noelle, last December. Oh, and a double tap hit. Now that comes down square as well for Melly Hasler. It does take energy out of the sled, probably less than an enormous skid. Third place, 2100s back, behind Kaylee Humphries, but at the moment, slipping behind Catty Bile as well. Finding a bit more speed, or others had given more away by that stage, probably more accurate. Still in fourth place. This will be the top Swiss sled at the line. Out to Tofana and Ampezzo, and across the line, 3/4 of a second back, 57.73. And these gaps do look yawning because of the speed of that run from Lauren Alter. So she's 100th ahead of Melissa Lottholtz in fifth. And where is she? 2400s behind Kaylee Humphries, who currently lies second. Front and back bunk tap. It sort of squares you up as you tap the back. And actually that came down pretty nicely. Little tap there, but no skid. Again here, a little late on the exit, but not too bad at all. All right, I think Melly Hasler is liking this track. All of the athletes are liking this track. Ilana Myers-Taylor with Jasmine Jones behind her. Jazz in her 17th World Cup start. Ilana, her 87th as a driver. Competed here early in her career as well. 5:19 getaway. So the same as Melly Hasler. And just 600ths off the start of Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy. 600s off the start, but already 2/10ths back. So Lauren Alter put enormous energy into the sled. Second fastest start for Ilana. 5th place at the moment on the splits. Speed is good. She's clawing her way back up the order, ahead of Melissa Lottholtz, ahead of Melly Hasler. Little tap in the chicane is going to rob her of speed. Is she going to catch Catty Bile to go third? It's going to be close. How close? Not close enough. 6800s back, a 10th behind Catty Bile. But again, Ilana and Jasmine Jones, and particularly Jasmine, are going to be absolutely stoked with a 5:19 start. Just 600ths of Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy. Again, just high up in the woodwork, and that rattle as well. That was quite wild. Did not have control there. It's all about rehearsal. Practice, practice, practice. Unfortunately, you don't get much. Next up for the USA, Keisha Love. Finished in the silver medal position yesterday. Her 14th women's start. She's got Azaria Hill with her. Azaria's 9th World Cup start as a push athlete. Let's see what they've got. 5:13 the start record. How close can they get? 5:15, that's a really rocket start from the two Americans. They were bronze medalists together in their last World Cup outing, which was race 1 in Lillehammer last year, the final World Cup races of the season. They didn't do the last one. They went back to Lake Placid to train up for the World Championships. It probably wasn't a bad decision, as Keisha Love ended up as the world champion in women's monobob. Little high looping line there again, as we saw from Ilana. Little skid and a tap. Through Cristallo, nice through the chicane. Second best at the moment, the speed's not brilliant. Is she going to be ahead of Kaylee Humphries at the line? Big battle for the American slider. Just behind, 300s behind Humphries. Well, the USA really starting to motor now. Lara Nolte leads, Kaylee Humphries second, Keisha Love third, Katy Bile fourth, Alana Myers-Taylor in fifth ahead of Melanie Hasler. Shana Roebuck there, their coach. She raced on this old track, or on the old track here. So close, so close, said Keisha. Just 200ths off the start record. They'll be happy with that. And they will go out and target it in the second heat. You can't be that close and think, yeah, we can't get there. Now then, what about the rest of the German team? Lisa Buchwitz, our 2024 Women's Bobsleigh World Champion. Our 2018 Olympic champion, 5:12 start record. Wow. The Germans have come loaded for bear this morning. Lisa with Nela Scooter behind her. Oh, big hit. And it came down all squirrely. She gathered up that slide, but that will have taken a lot of energy out of the sled. From 100th back to 1900s back. There'll be another 10th of deficit by the time she gets to the next clock. There you go, 2 tenths more. Disaster in Primo Labyrinthi. And that comes back to Verzi and Cento not being right. Enormous start for Lisa Buchwitz, and then a very disappointing run through the early corners. 57.68. Well, nobody is going to get 2 perfect runs here. I say that. Lara Nolte will now make me a liar, but it's unlikely that everybody will get 2 perfect runs. She's down in 6th position. She's only 200ths behind Alana Myers-Taylor, 1200ths behind Katy Bile, 1400ths behind Keisha Love, 1900ths behind Kaylee Humphries. These are big margins on a track that people know well. People do not know this track well, but look at this, that back bunk hit really takes the sled out of the driver's control. I mean, she recovered really well. Yeah, another training run. Yeah, it was a bit. Well, these are all training runs. We just happen to be giving points for them. Lara Nolte leads early in the race. Next up, Kim Kalicki with Leonie Fiebig behind her. Do not expect a start record from this duo. Kalicki with pneumonia, so Leonie is going to have to really dig in to get them a decent start. 5:20, that's excellent work from the brake woman. And again, I have to say kudos to Kim Kalicki for even being here instead of being in a hospital bed on antibiotics. Now that is a pretty good looking run. Lots of height in Verzi, Cento and Labyrinthi, but no contact with the wall. Now, did she have to steer too much to get the line she wanted? Or did she let the sled have its head and then cover a bit too much ice? Either way, 6th best speed out to 9th place. Now starting to claw her way back up the order, ahead of Lisa Buchwitz. Top 5 run from Kim Kalicki, ahead of Alana Myers-Taylor. 3rd, second runner at the line. Wow. 57.45, 4700ths behind her teammate, but 400ths ahead of Kaylee Humphries. And look at her getting out of the sled, look. She's been like this all the way through training. She hasn't got a cold, she's got pneumonia. How she can focus and do what she does, just don't know. Well, high line, big double tap there. Through K2, just driving through the middle of the corner. So just got a little late on maybe. Little tap on the retifilio. If there's ever anybody who looked like death warmed up, it is Kim Kalicki, but boy, she's driving well. What about Margot Bock and Carla Senechal? Margot 8th in the mono yesterday, 5:33. We had a discussion yesterday about who would be the best bobsleigh driver of all. if they had equal machinery and the same start. Well, certainly in the women's field, I think Margot Bock will be in your top 5 in terms of driving skill. She always makes it look so easy, and isn't that the mark of somebody who knows what they're doing? 13th at the start. The French duo need to have a really beautiful run. Top 5 speed, but at what stage does that start to unravel against the others? Top 3 speed. Is she going to pick up places on the run up to the line with that speed? She should do, she does. And at the line, 11th place, 57.93. I was rather hoping she might be a little higher up in the top 10. She is, what is she, 15 hundredths behind 10th place in Ola Blatti of Switzerland. Again, showing just how good the Swiss were in that first run. There we go, that's down into Verzi, where the women and doubles luge start comes in. And out of Cento. She got a decent run into the labyrinth. Next up for Australia, Brianna Walker and Chiara Rodingas. So reunited in the 2-seat sled. 18th World Cup for Chiara, 29th for Brie. Brie, bronze medalist yesterday. 400-meter hurdler in the front seat, heptathlete in the back. 5:26 getaway. That's good starting, top 10 getaway. Brie drove really well in both heats yesterday. Good exit out of Primo Labyrinthi. Not too much to gather up. Nice smooth run so far. Out of K2, little tap down the straight. Into Antelau and through to Cristallo. Sort of 2 pressures here and a little bit more, which makes the exit tricky. Doesn't get the chicane straight. Losing a little bit of ground. Down through Tofana and Ampezzo. And up through Arrivo. Across the line now. 14th place, 58.24. Pierre Luder's her coach. Like a number of the coaches, probably half the coaches here. More raced on the old track. Pierre certainly did. Some quite dramatic footage of some of his races here. Again, up into Primo Labyrinthi. Front and back bunk tap. The bunks are those little hammerhead shark bits that stick out at the front and the back of the sled. Very useful for loading in a 4-man sled. The men at 2 and 3 step onto those, but they're to protect the rest of the sled from contact. Lauren Nolte, Kim Kilicki, Kaylee Humphries, the top 3, as we work our way through the first heat of the opening race of the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Next up for Poland, Linda Wyszewski made her debut in the World Cup in La Plan, beginning of the season 2 years ago. And Claudia Adamek behind her, her 6th World Cup start. Linda, her driver, in her 12th. Junior World Championship bronze medalist last season, Linda. In another BTC Latvia sled, the default customer 2-man sled for men and women. Affordable, fast, well-known and well understood, the BTC sleds. A little rattling out of Primo Labyrinthi. Needs to keep this nice and tidy now. Speed has gone away. I'm sure a lot of coaches, with their eye on experience being gained, putting their athletes out on slightly thinner runners than they would normally expect and that they will probably use next week, for instance, in Innsbruck. 15th place run. Don't forget, out of our 32 sleds, only the fastest 20 go, out of our 26 sleds, only the fastest 20 go through. 58.56 run. And that puts her in 16th place. 300s behind Maja Voigt of Denmark. So two of our smaller sliding nations, with Australia's Brianna Walker in 14th place out of the 16. So Brie not guaranteed a second heat yet. As we go down through the order, there are still plenty of sleds who can be in the top 20, not least of which is this one from Canada, Cynthia Appiah and Eden Wilson. Eden, the 28-year-old brakewoman, in only her second World Cup start. She raced in Lillehammer at the end of last year with Erica Voss. Erica, another former brakewoman turned driver. The same as Cynthia Appiah, the same as Melissa Lotholtz. And we have one more brakewoman turned driver to come from Canada in this heat. Ninth best speed of the 12th start. Ooh, very hard in K2. Antelau and Cristallo. Beautiful sunny morning, very cold here. And another skid down into Tofana. This is going to be not great news for Cynthia Appiah. Sin had a good first run in the mono and a really loose second one. Lyndon Rush on the left, Justin Cripps on the right. The Canadian coaches, 58.07. So Cynthia in 14th, ahead of Brianna Walker, Maja Voigt and Linda Wyszewski. That might be enough. Look at this in K2. We had a couple there yesterday where the upper runners could just see fresh air between the runner and the ice. I'm sure when you're in the sled, it all goes a bit light there. And the brakewoman with her head buried is just going, get us down. All right. Next up for Great Britain, Adele Nicol with Ash Nelson behind her. Ash, a Commonwealth champion in 4x100, world and European medalist. And she's going to need all of her speed because Adele struggling with a really badly injured knee. Silver medalist in Lake Placid at the end of this year 2 seasons ago. Having made her driving debut in Lillehammer in January 2024. 5:33. So she's going to have to drive like an angel. Nice line so far from Adele. She's probably not expecting to get a second heat. A few weeks ago, blew her knee out completely and could barely move. Never mind walk, never mind run, never mind compete. Not bad looking lines at all. And any sled she can put behind her now may be salvation. Probably not what her knee needs is another start. But in terms of driving, that's what she could do with up to 16th place. Really nice looking run from Adele Nicol. And across the line in 16th, 58.34. So she is ahead of Maja Voigt and Linda Wyszewski. And only a 10th behind Brianna Walker. She started 5:33. Brie started 5:26, so she was nearly a 10th behind at the start. That's a very good drive. Double hit on the woodwork. K2, though, good exit. Just a little double tap down the straight into Antelau. Nothing wrong with the driving, Adele Nicol. There's Ash Nelson. It was a decent drive. She's going to have to work on fitness. Kelly Van Petegem with Jainty de Clare behind her. Jainty, the brakewoman, in her 4th World Cup. Kelly's 10th as a driver, having started 1 World Cup race, pushing Anne van Nieuwenhuis, who's now coaching her. best World Cup result for... In fact, Kelly's best 2 results have been in real tough drivers' tracks. A 7th place finish in Altenburg, a 6th place finish in Sigulda. Not bad looking run so far. Out of Cento, she had a little skid onto Cento. Just gets into the woodwork there in Primo Labyrinthi. Again, must be feeling very different for all these drivers compared to yesterday in the mono. The ice is harder, but they're getting faster into those early corners because of the 2-person push. 16th spot at the moment on the splits after a 16th fastest start. They started 100th quicker than Adele Nichol of Great Britain, so that's their battle at the moment, is to try and put the British sled behind them. Getting close, no, just behind, so Kelly is ahead of Maya Voigt and Linda Wyszewski, but for Adele Nichol, that's another little buffer. So 58.48. And 19 sleds down here in our field of 26. Does she get a second heat? She might do. She looks a little bit annoyed with that drive. Again, great replay view in K2. High looping corner. The speeds are pretty decent there. They're doing north of 75 miles an hour, and it's on and off. It's a really quick little kink, and you come over a brow and drop down into it, so it sort of corkscrews in. Now then, we talked about Canada, brake women driving. This is another debut for Kristen Bushnowski. I'm not allowed to call her the Bouge, just Bouge. The North America's Cup champion in women's bobsleigh. 22 starts in the World Cup as a push athlete. She was one of the very best. 5:22 start with Dawn Richardson-Wilson behind her. Dawn back in harness. The brakewoman's last race was the 2022 Winter Olympic competition. So blowing off some cobwebs this week and last, getting used to being back in a sled again. Nice looking lines from Bouge. She had a good run yesterday, made the cut on her first World Cup start in the monobob, and she looks like she's going to do the same again here and more. 10th at the line, 11th at the line. That is a great run to start her World Cup competition. 57.87. She's 11th. Cynthia Pia down in 15th. And Melissa Lott-Holtz just 2 spots ahead of her in 9th. Nice work, Bouge. Well, there's no question she's making the second heat, is there? So great stuff from Kristen Bushnowski and Dawn Richardson-Wilson. There you go. See, Dawn's forgotten everything. Look at the camera. Lauren Alter leads from Kim Kalicki and Kaylee Humphreys. And 20 sleds down. Now for the remaining 6 sleds, go fast or go home. You must bump somebody else out to get a second heat. Dog eat dog here. Leah Hasselvanter with new brakewoman Victoria Festen. Victoria, 24 years of age, has never started a bobsleigh race before. She's practiced, but this is her first official race. 5:47 for the duo. And Leah Hasselvanter only her second World Cup outing in women's bobsleigh. Just missed the cut yesterday in the mono. The former hammer thrower. Oh, little skiddy there. That is going to take speed away. 21st best start. She needs to drive herself into the race. Oh, and she's gone. Just out of Bandion and down into K2. Through Cristallo. And this is a rough ride for the Austrian duo. Victoria Festen, her very first race. The sled will just gradually roll back now down to the low point. They've come out. Well, here is Exeter Bandy on, known to the British sliders years ago as Bandage on. And running down into K2, rolling over. There are a few spills in the training week down there. And unfortunately, they are motoring on there. Just touching 70 miles an hour. There's no safety belts, and so the athletes have to try and hang on inside the sled. So 5-minute track hold, and you can see our next crew, Sarah Blizzard and Desi Johnson from Australia, getting their warm clothing back on. They will probably go back inside into the room at the start because it is bitterly cold. -4, -5 outside. It's a still sunny morning, but it ain't warm. So the medical crews will be down at the bottom to look after Leia and Victoria. And there's the sled, so the crew are out. And that's good news. You can see the medical staff there as well. New safety protocols from the IBSF. Mandatory burns vests as well, because although the ice is cold, the friction very quickly burns through the single skin of lycra and through human skin as well. So the burns vests, Kevlar vests, which help to protect the body, not from bumping and bruising, but from ice burns. Well, there's a great look at the runners on the sled. Look, they're not long and straight and flat like an ice skate. They don't have harsh, sharp edges. They're rounded, about maybe the width of your little finger, and highly polished. And as you can see, again, the runner's running surface is a little bit like a rocking chair, exactly as we see with skeleton. So your contact patch is not the whole length of it. It's probably the length of a credit card. Again, probably the length of your little finger is the amount of contact that the sled has on the ice. And it'll be the same for the four-man. A fully laden sled, 600 odd kilos. It's a big old beast. Well, very good news. There is Leia Hasselvanter and Victoria Festin. They are up and on their feet and away with the medical crew. And the scabbards that the sled travels in to protect the runners will go down there to the low point. Track workers also have an opportunity during the track hold just to see if there are any gouges being cut in the ice by the rolling sled, and that allows them to slush them in. It's a bucket of wet snow, essentially, and like plaster, you splodge it on, and it freezes on contact. Beautiful view of the runners. And that high polish, by the way, that doesn't come easy. Sled prep involves hours and hours of polishing runners with very fine grit abrasive to just take out any little grooves or marks that might create friction. Well, one of the things that the new track has in common with the old is its beautiful location. It is in the heart of the town of Cortina. There are houses 20 meters from the track, and it is right in the heart of town and has been a big part of this town for a century plus. And the views of this little basin, the Ampezzo basin that Cortina nestles in, of the stunning Dolomites all around, are absolutely stunning. And on a day like today, the mountains were glowing pink from the pre-sunrise, early blue light of dawn. The mountains have been absolutely staggering. And it's a beautiful little town. If you ever get the chance to come to the Dolomites on holiday, as some friends of mine did during the summer, actually, it is well worth it. Base yourselves here in Cortina or in Verona, or down the mountain in Venice. Lots to see and do. And again, you can see the workers here. Now, the track workers here, the Ice Meister worked on the old track, so he's from Cortina. But a lot of the track workers here from other tracks like Sigulda, like Koenigsee, with lots and lots, years and years, decades, a number of them, of experience. And just checking to see there's nothing from the sled, no bits of broken metal, carbon fibre, none of the paraphernalia that the drivers carry with them, like the rubber galoshes to protect the spikes. You just saw track worker picking up a bit of tape there that had come off something or other. Tape's really good for holding stuff together, particularly on skeleton sleds, but once the temperature drops significantly below zero, the stickiness stops being quite so sticky. So little delay in this first heat. And Van Nieuwenhuis there, coaching the Belgians and the Aussies. Up by the window with the red highlights on his jacket, Peter Fischer, and right beside him, Diego Menardi. Diego has, born and bred in Cortina, has been part of bobsled all his life, has created some of the weird and wonderful things you might have seen over the years, like a 7-seater bobsleigh for a Nissan promotion when they launched a 7-seat car. They created a 7-seat bobsleigh. That was him. The Top Gear sleds, that was him as well. So Freddie Flintoff's Sinclair C5 that was turned into a bobsleigh, that was Diego's work as well. He's been part of the Cortina Bob Club for many years and real driving force behind getting a track built again after the old one closed down. Well, there's Desi Johnson on the right and her driver Sarah Blizzard on the left. In the background you can see British coach Graham Richardson with Sean Olsen taking a look at video of Adele's run, Adele Nichols' run. So they get their 2-minute warning. Come on, Desi. Well, Desi, this is a slightly nervy moment for her. This is her World Cup debut. She's done one Europe Cup race, World Championships in 2024 with Sarah Blizzard as well. But this is her first World Cup start. Sarah started as a brakewoman in Innsbruck back in January 2020. Will be there next week. Her first World Cup race venue. Made her driving debut in Altenburg. Of course she did. Why would you go somewhere easy? In January 2024. So these are tough moments really for the crew because you've been building up to your start time, an hour probably of prep, warming up, getting ready, getting your head in the game, and then on the back burner. Everything on hold. You've got to try and keep the focus, keep the heat in the muscles. I'm sure the adrenaline helps with that. Cleaning off little bits of ice from the spikes, so hopefully there's no slips. Getting our race back underway. Sarah Blizzard and debutante Desi Johnson for Australia. Bree Walker in 16th place with her brakewoman Chiara Rodingius. And we have 20 sleds already in the field. So the Aussies have to bump somebody out. And that somebody right now would be Linda Wajaszewski of Poland. So Linda Wajaszewski is currently in 20th place. So an opportunity here for Sarah Blizzard and for Desi Johnson to try and drive themselves into the race. The first thing they're going to need is a good concerted hit and a solid, fast start. Desi digs in, classic brakewoman style, almost throwing yourself forward into the sled, driving off the block. 5:38 getaway. All right, 20th best start. 18th best velocity. That's a good reflection of how much energy they put into the sled. Little tap Verzi to Cento. Clean out of the labyrinth, little skid, but she gathers it up. 20th on the splits. Needs to finish in the 20. Good speed from the Aussies. And that is going to pay off further down the run, out of the labyrinth. Belvedere Bandion. Sweeping through Antelau and Cristallo. Still in the top 20. Touch and go. It's them or Poland. And at the moment, the speed not quite where they need it to be. Across the line, 21st place. So Linda Wyszewski holds on. So they were 600ths of a second away, and I'm sure she'll look at the video and think of all those things that could have been a fraction better. Well, that's what learning tracks is all about. Well, she gathered up that skid nicely, and here just a tiny late exit. It's all fractional, but straight down through the chicane. Well, there's Desi on the left. They don't make a second heat, but she has made her debut. Next up for Romania, Georgeta Popescu and Teodora Vlad. Now, Georgeta in her 10th World Cup start in women's bob, and Teodora in her 29th. Teodora started in Koenigsegg January 19. Georgeta at that stage was working herself up to the Youth Olympic Games in 2020. So lots of experience on the back handles. Georgeta Popescu off the 21st best start, needing to find a little more now. Just made the cut in the monobob race yesterday, finished in 20th place. She's up into the top 20 now. Youth Olympic champion 2020 in mono. Up to 19th place. So she's ahead of Maja Voigt of Denmark. Up to 18th place, taking herself out of the danger zone as she's ahead of Kelly van Petegem. Up to 17th place, ahead of Adele Nicol. This is a really nice looking drive from the Romanian. 18th at the line, 58.35. Very nice looking drive from Georgeta Popescu, and clearly it felt it. She clearly felt that that was flying. The lines were good. Look at this in K2. Watch the runner tips. She drove it on nicely, didn't have to drive it off. Excellent work. But unfortunately, for Linda Wyszewski, that means no second heat for her either. And in the drop zone now is Maja Voigt. There's Georgeta looking very happy with that run. It's what everybody's saying. When you get it right, it really flows, this track. Next up, debutante Patricia Takniarova from the Czech Republic. Made her debut in the monobob yesterday. And Isabella Indrichova behind her, making her debut for Czechia. It's her 4th World Cup start, though. She raced 3 times for Austria previously. 5:31. Now that puts them in the frame. That is a 15th fastest start. Patricia only 24th on the first run in the mono, so she didn't get a second, gets nudged away in a big double hit in Primo Labyrinthi. And that is going to cost her. Yep, she's gone from 15th at the start down to 22nd. And with the lowest speed we've seen so far, those skids after the double tap certainly taking speed out of the sled. Out to Cristallo, through the chicane. Speed is coming back a little, but not enough, I think. She's not looking like getting a second heat. Maja Voigt can breathe a little easier for another couple of minutes. At the line, 23rd with a 59.12. Well, and there you go, classic example of how Vetsi Cento can undo your entire run. Well, her World Cup debut for Patricia Taknarova in the women's bobsleigh. She doesn't get a second heat. She may well not have been expecting to get a second heat. The Czech driver gathering it all up there. K2 again, look, driving it off. So just got on a little late, so she had to correct it to stop rolling off the exit of K2, but there she is with a big smile on her face. Now, for the first time ever in World Cup history, we have an African sled in the women's bobsleigh. Simi Adiagbo started her career as a hurdler. She raced, and a triple jumper rather. She raced as a skeleton athlete. She's raced in the World Cup already in mono, including yesterday, but this the first time there's been a two-seat sled from anywhere in Africa. She makes her debut with Kewa King behind her. Kewa, born in Ireland, lives in Milton Keynes in the UK, an army nurse, a jumper, a pole vaulter, and a skydiver. Clearly doesn't like excitement at all. Not a bad-looking run so far, though, from Simi Adiagbo of Nigeria. Little double tap. Coached by Sandra Kyriasis, herself a winner on this Cortina track. Nice looking run down the straight, gathering it all up. And a great looking sled, really stands out. It's not going to be enough to get her through into the second heat. Hasn't quite got the speed on board. 59.98 run. Well, there's Sandra on the right. But for Simi Adiagbo and Kewa King, Nigeria, for the first time, Africa represented in women's bobsleigh. So two debutantes. Great woman, Kewa King, with 7 races under her belt. Now make that 8. And the same for Simi in the women's bobsleigh. 7 races in Europe Cup and North America's Cup for this duo. Dozens of skeleton races before. Lots of mono experience as well. And our final sled from China, Wai Mingming with Wang Chuan behind her. Now, Wai's last World Cup bob race was in Samaritz in January 2024. She was away for almost an entire season. And Wang Chuan, her break woman, her 17th World Cup start. She was a 2022 Olympian, so she knows what home games feels like, which the Italians are going to have to deal with this season. 13th at the start, 15th place at the moment. They've got a real opportunity to be in the top 20. Wai is a good driver, and at the moment, it's her or Maja Voigt of Denmark, and it should, if she gets it down safely, and she should from here, be Wai of China. 19th best speed. She'll be in the top 20. And it is her who gets the second heat and not Maja Voigt. Voigt is out. Kelly van Petegem just hangs on. And Wai back in the business and just trying to get herself back up to speed.
Jumping in. Lose the leg. Lost your leg.
Well, so what happened there? Something at the start when she climbed in. She clearly welted her ankle on something. Either leaping over the cowl. But a good-looking drive. She was always a top 10 driver and remains so. Her best ever result, 4th place in Sigulda, January 2022. One of the last races before the last Olympic Games. But, well, I don't know what she had for her birthday breakfast, but everybody needs some of that. Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy blowing the field away. Half a second clear of anybody. Absolutely insane first run.
Woo! Birthday run.
Birthday run, yeah. Well, they were beaten eventually at the start, with the start record going to Lisa Bookvitz down in 7th place, but look at that, 47 hundredths ahead of Kim Kalicki, 51 ahead of Kaylee Humphries, 54 ahead of Keisha Love. So it's a really good looking battle. There's Laura Nolter, assuming she doesn't have any issues, and then there's everyone else, and they are racked up like 9 pins. Now, absolutely jammed together. There's barely breathing space between any of these sleds. And all the way down the top 20, there will be plenty for these athletes to focus on in the second heat. Kelly Van Petegem will be the first off, and it will be Laura Nolter who goes last. But for Maya Voigt, Linda Vyshevsky, Sarah Blizzard, Victoria Tachnarova, and Simi Abiagbo, and as well for Lea Hasselvanta, no second heat. They'll be watching when we come back at 11 with our second heat, and that is in just 24 minutes from now. So 11 local, 12 GMT. We'll see you then.